Wait a moment. There's something else here.
Put on Borealis, which was like everybody else had disowned. But then I came along and said, oh, well, I guess this is now your problem. So I started on Borealis, and of course I failed at that too.
The Borealis!
Good God.
Incredible! Our peers at Aperture Science were at work on a project of some promise.
And actually my first thing is they handed Borealis to me to do
After I'd finished?
to do the AI for the guy that you're supposed to walk through the Borealis ship with.
There was a bunch of work put into it. We even went on an Icebreaker ship to get reference. As soon as we started to put it together, we realized how unbelievably tight the space was, and you could never make any kind of really interesting combat in it, and so it just withered on the vine right there.
Our peers at Aperture Science were at work on a project of some promise.
1971, Aperture builds a complete dry dock 3,975 m below the surface in its Michigan facility and constructs the infamous Borealis icebreaker that would represent the greatest achievement of Aperture's Poral technology.
Even into episode 3, I still don't know what that would have been if we'd built it, because it hadn't been built. That was the feeling of excitement of something I can't even imagine is going to happen as a team. I was not like imposing like a top-down, this is what we must do to tell our very important tale. You know, it's more like, oh, we have new features? Like, what kind of story can we do with these now?
Well, I worked on episode 3, and I was working on this gun called the ice gun that basically let you create amorphous shapes out of ice. So you could like raise a little ice wall in front of yourself. It would be attached to the floor, and then the Combine soldiers could shoot holes in it, and it would shatter and break kind of like glass, I guess. So that was the primary mode of you could build ledges for yourself to get down, you know, cliff faces. It had another mode that was like a kind of like a Silver Surfer mode where you would extrude the ice in front of yourself and then run along it and use it to cross gaps, go over chasms and things like that. What else do we have? It was set in the Arctic because it was centered around Borealis.
But in their rush to beat Black Mesa for funding, they must have compromised ordinary standards of risk.
We're working on a little teleportation experiment. Now, this doesn't work with all skin types, so try to remember which skin is yours.
We heard that a research vessel had simply disappeared, vanished, with all hands, and even part of the dry dock. Few believed the Borealis would ever be seen again.
It was always we worked on a peer-to-peer thing. We were all gonna, what can we do? What do you think would be cool?
It was still a collection of like playable levels in no particular order, and a collection of story beats and story concepts. And we were still like, probably another 6 months we would have had a critical mass of like mechanics, and then start putting them in a timeline. I think probably a year and a half easily, depending on how ambitious we got. Could have been, 2.5 more years. Yeah.
Probably. It's hard to be a lot less than 2 years.
Yeah. I think we were 6 months in on it when we moved to Left 4 Dead. I don't know, we were moving at a pretty brisk pace too. I thought that we needed to go much bigger on episode 3 or do something else, because I don't know if this is the right way to describe it, but element fatigue. I think we had really explored a lot of what made sense in the Half-Life universe and setting.
Arcane was building a Ravenholm game, and even they were having trouble doing cool new stuff with this tool set. And like, if those guys can't figure out a bunch of cool stuff to do with this, I think we're running out of fuel.
Episode 3 is coming along. It's like, well, what's the new big thing here? It's got to be bigger than all the stuff we just did. Even episode 2, and it's like, oh my God, it just becomes.
Are we allowed to cry in this documentary? That's what I want to know.
It should have been lost forever.
But now that we've found it, we can use it against the Combine. Did you
use it? That thing has to be destroyed.
But think of the advantage for humanity. We can't simply waste all that potential.
Has Black Mesa taught you anything?
definitely gone back and spent 2 years to make episode 3.
And you can't get lazy and say, oh, we're moving the story forward. That's copping out of your obligation to gamers, right? Yes, of course they love the story. They love many, many aspects of it. But sort of saying that your reason to do it is because people want to know what happens next. You know, we could have shipped it. Like, it wouldn't have been that hard. You know, the failure was, my personal failure was being stumped. Like, I couldn't figure out why doing episode 3 was pushing anything forward.
But yeah, I mean, some of those people made Left 4 Dead 2 and then Portal 2. So
yeah, we did other things instead.
It's not like that choice would have been free.
Right.
In terms of the players, like, they may have gotten that and not...
And given up something else.
Not something else, yeah. So it's hard to say.
There's no controlling that kind of power.
Well, yes. There's always a risk, Eli. But my goodness, we have coordinates, blueprints, hailing frequencies. Quite ingenious of Dr. Mossman to hide it all in the carrier wave.
Well, that means she's still alive up there. But it's a combine catcher. He'll tear out everything she knows. There'll be nothing left of her.
But we don't know for sure
I won't
that...
take that chance. I'm going after her.
Now, Eli...